Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
So I'm Armand Julien, and I'm going to present some joint work with Francis Bach and Jean Ponce on multiple object co-segmentation. So first, some background. So what is segmentation? I mean, everybody knows what it is here. It's just segmenting an image into a meaningful region. The problem is that without any information, you can't solve this problem. So different solution has been proposed. So either a supervised segmentation, which works very well in practice, but has a drawback of needing labeling of all the classes and cannot deal with new unknown objects, and interactive segmentation, which works very well also in practice, but may need human interaction for each image. So another solution is instead of dividing one image, you divide a set of images sharing some information. So here a horse, and use this shared information to get a segmentation of the whole bunch of images. So this idea has been introduced by Castor Rother in 2006, and has been developed by other papers since then. The only problem is that at this time they were working on mostly two images and on the exact same objects. In a previous paper, we extended it to multiple images and object classes. But the a problem still remains with co-segmentation is that it's an ill-posed problem. Because usually when you have an object common in different images, the background is also common. So here, for example, you would like to segment the plane, but the sky is also common to all the images. So it has no chance to work on this kind of images. So one solution is, once again, to use user interaction. But here we are going to try another solution, which is to divide the scene in more than two classes. And by doing that, we hope that we can retrieve more information, like, for example, here, the sky, the plane, and the ground. So just a quick overview of the goals of this method. What we want is something that handles multiple images, which work with object and stuff differently, which segments the background in meaningful regions, and use no prior information, but we should be able to extend it to interactive segmentation. So how does our method work? We are going to do two things. We are going to have a binary term which will give some spatial consistency inside an image, in a particular image, and a unary term which will be based on a classifier which will try to find k different classes in the feature space. So let me introduce first the spatial consistency term. So it's a very simple term. It's like based on normalized cut. We just take the pixels that are close together, and based on their position and color, we build a similarity matrix. And on this similarity matrix, we build a Laplacian matrix. And our binary term is simply the assignment with this Laplacian matrix, which represents the graph. So the unary term is that we are going to use to classify our labels, which are y given the features, is very classic. It's very classical. It's just a discriminative classifier where you try to fit a linear classifier in a nonlinear space to the labels with some regularization term. So we have, as I said, a nonlinear mapping. I'm not going to talk about it here, but I'm going to talk about the loss function. The loss function we choose is the softmax loss function for the main reason that it's a natural loss function for a problem where you have more than two classes, and also because it has nice interpretation in terms of statistical model. So one last problem is that if we want to minimize, let's say, only the unary term in both the parameters of the classifier and the labels, we are going to have a solution which is like this. So what the classifier is going to do is going to put all the points in the same cluster and put the classifier far away from the points. So we have to encourage non-empty classes. So we could have done it by adding linear constraint on the minimum size of each class, but instead we prefer to add penalization term with a build on the entropy, where we which will enforce the number of points per class and per image to be equal. So the reason here, I'm not going to discuss it, but it's also because it has a probabilistic interpretation and is related to a model that I'm not going to present here. So, and another nice thing about it is that here we, for this particular work, we do it on images and classes. But if, for example, you have like interactive segmentation or things like that, you can, instead of summing it over the image, you can summing it over the boxes or the scribbles you have, and specify and change the number of classes depending on which box you are, and things like that. I will show an example later on. So at the end, this is the cost function we are going to minimize. So we have our unary term, which is a classical discriminative classifier, a binary term, which is fixed, and the entropy. So to do that, the problem is non-convex, so we are going to use an EM procedure to find a good local minima of this problem. So for minimizing this term, when the labels are fixed, we use LBFGS because it's very fast and we don't have constraints, so it is suited for this problem. For Y, we could have used like a method like alpha expansion or things like that, but instead I prefer to just relax the 0, 1 by the continuous path between 0 and 1 and use a projected gradient descent. But I think other methods will have worked as well. So as I said, the problem is that our problem is non-convex. So in this case, usually a good initialization is very important. So here what we did is we used our previous work, which was convex, and which is actually related to this one with some trivial math, to use it to initialize our method. And so we use that for the initialization. We also used SuperPixel to reduce the running time of the overall method. So I'm now going to show some results of our method on two different databases. So one is the MSRC database, where you have class of objects up to 30 images, and because there is a high variability in the instance of the classes, we use SIFT feature. The other database we use is ICOSEG, where it's a bit a different problem, where the image has been taken the same day at the same place, so we have the same illumination and everything. So in this case, we use color histograms, very simple features. And at the end, I will show some extensions, possible extension of this work. So this is some qualitative results. So for each class, I show 3 good results and 1 bad where it failed. So for different reasons. Some are very simple to understand, like this one, because this is a very small object and he didn't manage to find it. Others are less clear, like this one. It's not very obvious why he missed this car and not the other one. So once again, other qualitative results. So in general, here are the performance. So in general, we increase, in average, like we can see here, we increase the performance compared to other completely unsupervised co-segmentation method. So now I'm going to show the utility, why we use this multiple class thing is like for images like this, like where, for example, you have the elephants always in front of the same background. So if you try to just segment this image in 2 classes, you are bound to fail. I've tried it. And but if you increase the number of classes, because these kind of images are are pretty simple. You are able to retrieve the information, some information, and actually not only you retrieve the object, but you also segment the background in meaningful regions. So here the sky, I think it's pretty obvious what. Maybe this one is a bit less, but the others are obvious. So here other examples, and as before, the last here it's a failure, like the one case where it didn't work very well. So is a kind of result you can obtain. So you have a meaningful region even for the background. So once again, in terms of performance, we have better result than previous work. So now I'll talk also about the extension. So as I said, you can change the entropy so that instead of considering each image, that each image contains all the classes, you can cut the images in boxes and say, okay, outside the box I have only, like, say, K. I have K class, and inside the box I have K plus 1 class, and you can do by doing that you can do like graph cut kind of thing. You can do it for multiple images with one box for one object, or two boxes for two different objects, and I'm preparing some results on that, but you can do like multiple graph cut on multiple images all at the same time. We can also use it for weekly supervised learning. So here I have 4 labels: plane, sheep, sky, and grass. There is 60 images, but I only show 6, of course. And what we do is we segmented all of them together, but with their labels. So here the main point is that the grass here and here is the same class. So you are able to like segment all a bunch of images like all together, and of course, you don't have the position of the objects, you just have the label for each image. You can also use it, of course, for video segmentations, like here, where you can get decent results. I don't know if it's state-of-the-art or anything, but I mean, it's pretty okay. So now, just to conclude, I'm going to give some limitations of this work. The first one is obviously, what is a good number of classes? So here, for example, if you put too many classes, you have something that undesirable effects. Here is an example of the same image gutted in with an increasing number of classes. So you see that when here I think it's 10 classes, you see that when you put too many classes, it's starting to be noisy and everything. So that's the main drawback of this. One of the main drawback of this work. Another one is that as it is formulated in this paper, each class has to be in each image because of the entropy that cannot go to 0 because of the gradient, and that also can be a drawback if you want to extend it to a scene where sometimes the object disappears. And finally, the last drawback is the running time, which is around 10 minutes right now, but I'm decreasing it right now. So thank you.
We have plenty of time for questions.
Yeah.
Very simple question about the choice of databases. Don't you think it's about time we stopped using the MSRC database?
I do agree for when you have information. Since here you don't have any information, you can see it as a sanity check in some sense. Because I think that one of the application of this kind of work is if you have like a detector, for example, and you want inside your box to segment the objects, you want to segment the object inside the boxes altogether. And for this, I mean, a database like this is more or less what you will get if you have this kind of detector. So, I mean, I do agree that it's too simple, but for...
Have you looked at the Pascal one?
No, I haven't. No. I'm not sure it will work on Pascal.
Because?
I mean, I have no clear arguments why, but I mean, no, I'm just not sure. I mean, I would have to look at it to check.
So on the binary co-segmentation, did you compare to our object co-segmentation paper?
No, because I asked Sarah the code, and she said that she would send it to me, but she...
Okay. Because we have the same numbers, I just wonder for the ICOSEC we did the same numbers in the paper.
Oh, for the ICOSEG?
Yeah.
The problem is that I don't use the same measurement as before. I use now the intersection over the union measurement, and in your paper you use the total number of well-classified pixels, so it was hard to translate one in the other. And here it's completely unsupervised, so I was...
Yeah. So a question like there, I mean, there's object co-segmentation. I think we put the sensible notion in that some of the between things and stuff, basically, right?
Yeah.
In your approach, do you think it would also benefit? Because we got a huge improvement by saying the object which is segmented, like what you join to segment is an object. And you could also introduce another flag to say it's an object or it's not an object.
Sure. I think that we will get better results if you add more information, or if you specify your problem a bit better, I guess. That can only increase your but I'm not sure that in our formulation we might have some issue to take into account this specification. Maybe it will make the cost function a bit too hard to optimize.
Okay.
So
because it would be interesting. You could even do depth layers.
Yeah.
Because then you know, like one big benefit was curves. Actually, the outline of curves gives you a lot of indication about is it an object, and so that might improve it.
Good. Yeah.
All right.
There's a lot of room for improvement. I mean, the result. I showed the nice one, but still there is like a lot of rooms for a lot of things to do with this kind of. There were.
All right. Let's thank Ahmad again.